think it's natural in the same way that when you're younger, you know, like, you guys remember when you were like 13, you developed insecurity for the first time? Like, you were like walking around as a kid, you're like, I don't care. And then you watch like a movie and you're like, wait, like, I don't look like that guy. You know, like, it's a very normal experience to have. And I think sort of a place where it happens that we don't talk about as much is art, right? Another very common piece of advice I would hear that I was like very much diametrically opposed to in my own way of creating was this idea that great artists are super free, you know, like an artist is just so free of conception, and they just creating this I don't even know how to, the epitome of a fluid way, right? And I would think, I'd be like, well, that's not how I do things, you know, I don't create like that. I'm more of a, you know, I like to kind of think through things before I do it, right? And then I remember another similar thing happened to this. I read Stephen King's book on writing, and Stephen King writes in this very interesting way, where he says that you should never write with an outline. He swears against outlines, and he says, I just go in with the beginning of a story and just keep writing until it's done. And he says, I never know how a book ends when I begin it, right? And, you know, once again, I know these are very much, one, individual experiences, and two, very much a product of being naive. Because if you look at how Stephen King writes a book, right, versus how George R.R. Martin writes a book, or I believe is the Brandon Sanderson. I think I've seen one of his lectures where he says he writes it in a different way than that. However, I don't think that we should ever tell people there's one way to do things, right? Because the more you look at how art gets done, you'll notice that there's no such thing as a rule of like, one, what makes a good artist, and two, what makes good art, right?